There is a lot happening in South Africa. We have inauguration of a president. We have some people calling the government of national unity nonsense. We also have other political parties now starting to fight within the government of national unity. And we also have the markets that are reacting to what is going on in South Africa. So we have a lot to cover today. And I hope you are ready to learn and understand what is going on in South Africa. Now, firstly, we have the inauguration of a president. Cyril Ramaphosa is being inaugurated today. And we did see the inauguration holding, and many dignitaries are part of the inauguration. We saw, the guards. We saw the armies part of it. We saw so many people that are part of it. And you can see the monarch of Swaziland is also present, sitting next to Cyril Ramaphosa and his wife there. And there are many other people that are present. Judge Raymond Zondo swearing him in as well, and many dignitaries that are there, and a lot of happenings that are there. And Cyril Ramaphosa also addressed the nation, and we also heard from different addresses. And I'll just keep panning back to update you on what's going on. But there is a lot happening. And a lot of people have been asking questions to say, how does this inauguration work? What actually happens in inauguration? And basically, this is all the information you need to know about an inauguration. Everything you need to know. Now, this Wednesday, we're marking 30 years of democracy in South Africa. And today on Wednesday, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, he had a re-election as president in parliament, and he's inaugurated. Now, the countries that are represented at a high level at this inauguration, we've got the Kingdom of Eswatini, the Kingdom of Lesotho, Republic of Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, Angola, Tanzania, the Republic of Uganda, the People's Republic of China. That's very interesting. The Arab Republic of Egypt, the State of Palestine, and the Republic of Cuba. Now, the president does take an oath of office. So it's an oath or solemn affirmation of president and acting president. And here it is, as you can see. And I know a lot of people are asking themselves, will a cabinet be announced? Yes. After the president has done this inauguration, he is going to announce his deputy president. He's also going to announce a cabinet out of the members of parliament. And a lot of people are saying, who's going to make part of the cabinet? Who do you think is going to make part of the cabinet? And there is a lot of talks about the government of national unity. And as many of you know, we did a video where we exposed that this word government of national unity is actually incorrect. It's not a government of national unity. Now, we've got the DA, IFP, and Patriotic Alliance that have signed or that are part of this government of national unity. But we're all so confused because everything keeps on changing. The PA says they were invited by the ANC. The DA is saying that they don't know anything about any other political parties, the government of national unity. It seems that there are some cracks on the wall, and we are seeing a lot of different reactions. And I want to show you what JJ said about the government of national unity, because as we all know, JJ, very controversial, very rough in the way that he speaks. And he had something to say about what he thinks about this government of national unity. Take a look at this.
So you know by now that I wouldn't give a damn. The government of national unity is a farce. And it's important that those of us whose job is to tell the truth must tell it now, and tell it even more persistently when people are trying to gag us from telling it. Just yesterday, what you say, a sellout. This whole deal is a sellout deal. And I know that for comrades like Mbalula and so on, when you say sell out, you have them. But you are sold out, comrade.
There you have it.
You sold the
JJ
to the poor.
Tibani is saying that they've sold the country to the poor.
My colleague Jan Koda would say, it's a movie, man. Yesterday, Zille says, in a straight face, no. What did Bishop Ramaphosa wait? Even if they brought the Palapala team back, what did Bishop? This is the same Zille who, in October of 2023, when the Constitutional Court threw the Palapala matter of Ramaphosa out of court, said, this is the reason why this matter must be brought back to Parliament so that there can be accountability.
There you have it. JJ is basically scolding Helen Zille and saying this whole government of national unity is a scam because they are agreeing not to hold each other accountable. And he's even going as far as saying Helen Zille said before that she would hold Cyril Ramaphosa on Parapara accountable. But now, all of a sudden, because they're all now in a government of national unity, they are now no longer saying anything about it. So there are a lot of controversial things that people are saying about this. And I know a lot of people are happy, some are excited, some are angry. What are some of your thoughts and your emotions on the inauguration? Let's have a look at Twitter. Now, on Twitter, there's a lot of trending things on Twitter. People are saying, it's my party, I can dance if I want to. They are showing the different things that are happening, the different clips that are happening. Some of the people that are there are showing the pictures that are there. We're seeing the mayor of Cape Town there with Gwede Mantashe. These are not usual things because the DA and the ANC are usually not friends, but now all of a sudden, since they're in a government of national unity, they are now friends. And we're seeing performances and a lot of different exciting things that are happening, but a lot of people are unhappy and a lot of people are complaining. We're also seeing Ian Cameron there. There's a lot of scandals and people that are signing petitions to ensure that many of the DA members do not actually become part of parliament. And a lot is happening with regards to this. But I want to take it back to an interview that played yesterday, where people are starting to ask to say, what is this government of national unity? How does it work? Can you explain it to us? And I'm going to show you where Fikile Mbalula explains the government of national unity. And I'll also show you where Helen Zille explains it. And you can begin to see the cracks that are starting to form on the wall. Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? What's actually going on here? Are we being played or is this actually legitimate? Take a look at this and see what Fikile says about this government of national unity.
Political parties who we think can make a contribution in government. We have gone way beyond the government of national unity to bring in people into our government. President Mbeki brought the Minister of Technology at that time, Date Musibudi Mangena from Azapo, which he had one seat. Subsequent to that, President Zuma in his government brought Conor Melder from the Freedom Front Plus. President Ramaphosa brought in Patricia de Lille. The process of consultation is not new. It's an involved process, the question of appointing cabinet, looking at broadly skills, and at the same time consulting the alliance and engaging is quite involved. In this instance, it will mean involvement with political parties that are in the government of national unity and discussing with the president.
Does that mean that the parties that are within the GNU have a say on which portfolios they prefer? Helen Zille told me that they think that it makes sense for John Steenhuisen to be appointed as minister in the presidency. She says during the negotiations, they didn't push for the position of deputy president because to them, they thought it makes sense for John Steenhuisen to be in the presidency.
The negotiations were not transactional. They were based on first shaping up the statement of intent. And then in terms of paragraph 16, it is very clear what we're talking about there. We talk about an inclusive government. And with respect to political parties, it will be done in consultation and engagement with the president in respect to the prerogative of the president. So that's what will actually happen.
But based on what you've discussed as the ANC and with the other parties that have signed this document, are you planning on giving the DA perhaps 3-5 positions? I mean, have you discussed the numbers, not necessarily the positions and ministries, but the numbers as to the IFP with the number of seats they have as to how many portfolios they can take?
I want to leave that to the president. Yes.
Okay. So do you still plan, though, as the ANC on occupying?
We believe that the government, the president is going to constitute will be reflective of the principle of government of national unity.
Okay.
So the detail of it, I want to leave it to him.
Okay.
Because there is a principle of a prerogative that belongs to him that must not be diluted or undermined.
Let me ask broadly about, because as the ANC, you need to look after your interests. You need to look after even the commitments that you have made to the electorate. So are you planning on occupying strategic ministries, whether it's health, whether it's finance, whether it's education? As the ANC, do you believe that you must at least retain those strategic ministries or share them together with other members of the government of national unity?
First, before we talk about that, we have to look at how we configure government. Our plan is the
So this was an interview that was done yesterday where Fikile Mbalula was explaining his side of what he understands as the government of national unity, and also trying to explain what they're going to do and how they're going to work. Now, the interesting thing about this very same interview is that straight afterwards, Clement Manyatela has an interview with Helen Zille. And Helen Zille comes and she contradicts what Fikile Mbalula had actually said in his interview. Take a look at this.
Been waiting long because I was trying to get Fikile Mbalula, who is the Secretary General of the ANC, to understand a very crucial clause in this document that all of you have signed in this government of national unity. And that's where I want to start with you. The deadlock requires that there's sufficient consensus. When there's a deadlock reached, sufficient consensus means 60% of the parties that represent seats in the National Assembly have got to agree. Fikile Mbalula doesn't necessarily seem so. How do you interpret it as someone who has...
Now, before Helen Zille answers this question, I think I want to just bring it back so that we're all on the same page here. After an election, the party that has majority gets to constitute government, meaning they get to choose the ministers, they get to choose which ambassadors go where, they get to choose all these portfolios, they get to choose them. Now, because no government or no political party has reached 50%, the ANC had to make a decision. And the decision that they took, many people thought they were going to come together with progressive parties that have the same principles as them, and come together and form government, meaning the EFF, MK, and all other parties that are aligned with them. But the ANC turned around and formed government with the DA, which is a political party which the ANC and itself have never agreed on anything. I don't think I remember anything that the DA and the ANC agreed on. So now you've got an ANC Secretary General explaining the ANC stance, and now you're going to hear a DA leader, I don't know what they call her, now explaining her stance. And you'll see that the stances are different because Clement is now explaining and asking the question to say, when now the DA and ANC are seated together and you have to decide on government, okay, who's going to be the minister? Who's going to be the ambassador of Israel? Who's going to be the ambassador of Palestine? Who's going to be the ambassador of the US? Who's going to be the minister of health? Who's going to be the minister of education? Who's going to be... And he's asking, how do you guys decide on this? And now he's saying, is it going to be a vote where 60% of the votes, that's who becomes... How do you constitute the 60%? Is it going to... And listen to what Helen Zille says as an answer to say how she explains it's going to work, which many people are saying, oh, but we were not aware of this. But let's see what she says.
Negotiating.
Clement, it's not parties with 60% of seats in the National Assembly. It's 60% of seats in the government of national unity. Mm-hmm. And so I interpret it the way you interpret it with Fikile when you were talking to.
So now Helen Zille is saying, we're not basing this on 60% of the political parties that are in the National Assembly. We're basing it on 60% of the parties that are in the Government of National Unity, meaning it's the IFP, it's the DA, it's the ANC, it's the DA, IFP, ANC, and PA, sorry. Now she's saying that 60% is of those parties within. So if we're trying to understand it, does this now mean that we have a government within a government? Because the way that government is supposed to work is that each member of parliament is supposed to represent South Africans, not represent a party line or represent what some billionaire told them to do. No, they're supposed to represent South Africans. Now, if they're telling us that in the Government of National Unity, there's going to be another voting of 60%, is this a government within a government? What is it? And people are getting more and more confused by the day to say, we don't understand what all of this means. But let me allow her to finish so that people don't say that I took half the story.
To him, it is all the parties who are in the Government of National Unity must reach consensus. Alternatively, 60% must.
Yeah.
And not 60% of parties, but 60% of parties. Let me just quickly read it to you. Parties to the GNU representing 60% of seats in the National Assembly. So they've got to be, first of all, be parties to the Government of National Unity.
Yeah.
And then those parties have to represent 60% of the seats in the National Assembly. That is, the Government of National Unity has to comprise 60% of the seats that the government of national unity parties have in the assembly.
In practical terms, what that means is the ANC can't just come up with a position and then they say to the IFP, oh, vote with us here in cabinet, or for us to decide a government position, or let's bring in the good party as well. Ultimately, they're still going to need the DA because you are bringing in about 20% of support, and you carry weight in that government of national unity. Is there ever going to be a point where the ANC is able to pass through a resolution, let's say in cabinet or about the executive, without you giving it the green light as the Democratic Alliance?
Clement, we will represent at least 30% of the seats in the government of national unity, not 20, 30. The ANC will represent 60% of the government of national unity, but you have to do it looking at all the parties that are going to be in the government of national unity.
Yeah.
And it's only the parties in the government of national unity. So we're going to have 30% of, for example, all the seats if they do it by proportional representation and take the electoral results into account, which we've got there. But you're absolutely right. Without the Democratic Alliance, the ANC can't reach 60%.
There you have it. She first takes us around the answer. She comes back to it. She's colorizing it, but then she says it at the end to say, you are right. Without the DA, the ANC can't do anything. How did we get here? When did we get here? How did we get here? And for those that are maybe saying that I'm putting things into her mouth, maybe let me replay it, because I want everybody to say that they heard it for themselves. Let's listen to it again.
Without the Democratic Alliance, the ANC can't reach 60% of the seats in the National Assembly occupied by the government of national unity parties. It's complex, but you...
There we have it. So without the DA, the ANC cannot make decisions in the government of national unity. I must be honest with you, I'm also still not understanding it. To say, so what does this mean? Does it mean that we're being run by the DA? Does it mean that, what is she saying here when she says they can't? What does that actually mean? And I want to hear in the comment section what you think, but let her finish before I move on to the next point.
You are right.
And if the ANC then brings in parties like the IFP and the Good Party and the PA and the PAC, who have now signed this document as well, do they reach that 60%?
No, let me say this, that the ANC can't bring people in that they feel like bringing in.
So akhuluma ugogo. Helen Zille say, let me say this, at the page, at the ANC can't bring. We are now seeing I don't know, guys. I mean, let me know in the comment section. I want to know from you. From what I'm seeing and understanding from this interview is that Helen Zille is calling the shots. I don't know. I stand to be corrected, but that's what I'm seeing. She's saying that they can't just bring in, because Clement is asking to say, okay, in this government of national unity, you've got the IFP, you've got the PA, and apparently now, I'm not sure, there's another party that's joined. She's saying, if the ANC comes with those parties, are they able to make decisions without the DA? Oti, no, they can't do so. Let me play it again, just in case, I don't want to be accused of putting things into her mouth. Let me play it again so you can hear it for yourself.
ANC then brings in parties like the IFP and the Good Party and the PA and the PAC, who have now signed this document as well. Do they reach that 60%?
No, let me say this, that the ANC can't bring people in that they feel like bringing in. This is another thing that Fikile doesn't seem to understand, because it says...
I'm getting trauma. I'm triggered. It's reminding me of my racist Afrikaans teacher, where she was saying, no, you can't just do whatever you want, Mpho. Because did you hear the way she said, hey, yeah, no, South African politics, that's where you can't just do, hey. Yeah, no, we are in a political I don't know what to call it. I'm going to play it one more time before we move, because this has to be
percent.
Do this.
No, let me say this, that the ANC can't bring people in that they feel like bringing in. This is another thing that Fikile doesn't seem to understand, because it says that in keeping with the spirit of an inclusive GNU, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties decide to be part of the GNU. Now, agreed means by sufficient consensus. So it's not the ANC that gets to invite everybody, as Fikile seems to think.
Yeah.
He keeps on actually making public statements about this one's joined and that one's joined, but he must read clause 24 of the document that he signed.
Yeah, man.
Hold on. So are you saying to me that if
I mean, we're hearing the ANC come out and tell the country that this political party is joining GNU, this political party is joining GNU, this political party. Oh, Helen, no, you just can't. There's a clause. And I wanted to look at that clause. But for me, these things are concerning. I don't know about you. These things are concerning. But let me play the interview so we can look at the clause that Helen is talking about. Clause 24. Keep that in your mind. Let's finish it off.
even when the PA decides to join, the ANC has had to consult you and the other parties in the government of national unity before accepting any other party to come and join and sign that document.
Absolutely. There are three founding members of this. It is ourselves, it is the ANC, and it is the IFP. And clause 24 says, in keeping with the spirit of an inclusive GNU, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the government of national unity. That's what it says in clause 24.
So were you consulted about
Hold on. I thought they were telling us that the government of national unity was for everybody. So what happened? If Helen Zille is saying that the DA agree if anybody can join the government of national unity, what happened? Because they said to us the government of national unity is all parties coming together. So is Jacob Zuma, what President Jacob Zuma was saying, correct to say they are just using a play on words to fool people, that there is no government of national unity here, that what we're actually seeing is a coalition of the DA and ANC, and the DA calls all the shots, and the DA basically is in charge because she's saying they can't do anything. She says, you can't just do whatever you want. And I know that I'm saying, let's finish this interview. Let's finish it now for real. Let's end it off.
or the PAC?
We were consulted about the PAC, but not the PA. The PAC was raised in the negotiations. The PAC, good, and the UDM were raised during the negotiations, but definitely not the PA. But, it's not about the PA per se, it's about the principle of this issue. They haven't consulted us, and the ANC must realize that they don't take all the decisions anymore. They didn't win the election.
So what does that mean now? Will you be taking it up with the African National Congress?
I have. I've written to Fikile Mbalula. I wish we'd been on together. I would have had a little bit of a debate with him. But I wrote him a letter yesterday. I got an acknowledgement of receipt. And basically, I referred to clause 24. I said, you can't do this. And then I referred to clause 19, the sufficient consensus clause. So he says he'll get back to me, but I'm still waiting for that.
Okay, so when it comes to the constitution of government...
Hey. Yeah, no. I don't know where we're back to. I don't know. I'm struggling to finish this interview. I'm struggling to finish it because just the language and the looking down. I mean, the ANC, you have 40%. You could have joined any other political party that stands for principles that you believe in. You chose not to. And by you not doing so, we are now seeing on television that you're being scolded on television. You're being scolded on television, being schooled, told that you can't do it. We've written a letter to you. Hey, yeah, no. Let me finish the interview.
Then what happens if President Cyril Ramaphosa, for instance, gives the PA 1 or 2 ministries? Is that something that would dissatisfy you as a member of this government of national unity, given that you were not consulted about this party joining the GNU?
We have to be consulted about it. And in fact, it's crucially important to point out the clause on the cabinet. It says, that's clause 17. Whilst recognizing the president's prerogative to appoint members of the executive, such appointments should be done in consultation with the leaders of the respective parties of the members considered for appointment. So he can't just let anybody come in. He's got to consult with us. And then he makes the appointments in consultation with the leaders of the parties who have been accepted for admission into the government of national unity.
How extensive do you expect those consultations to be? Should he?
So is she saying that no minister will be appointed, no ambassador will be appointed without the DA being consulted?
Come to the DA and say, I've got 3 ministerial positions for you, this and this, and then consult you? Or do you expect him to say, okay, how do I constitute this government? And you as the DA give your own thoughts on which ministry you think should go to which individual or which political party?
Well, first of all, he can't come along to say we're going to give you 3 ministries, because he has to look at clause 16. Now, clause 16 says that it's a bit of a word salad, clause 16, because it was changed so often backwards and forwards, but it currently says,
I mean, let's be honest,
the government,
would you know every clause in the document? While you're on live TV, the moment they're asking a question, she says, okay, let's go to clause 16, let's go to clause 19. And I'm going to look at those clauses together so that we really understand.
of national unity shall be constituted in a manner that reflects genuine inclusiveness of political parties that are party to the statement of intent and are represented in the National Assembly, broadly taking into account the number of seats parties have in the National Assembly and the need to advance the national interest. The President shall, in consulting the executive, take into account the electoral outcomes. Now, if he takes into account the electoral outcomes of the parties that have already been admitted into the government of national unity by the processes that we've spoken about here, that means whatever the size of the cabinet, we're entitled to 30% of the seats, and the ANC is entitled to 60% of the seats.
What?
Okay.
So the DA did not get 30% in the elections. In fact, I want to open that up. Let me open up so that we can give the exact number the DA got. But now they are saying they're going to be entitled to 30% of the cabinet. Guys, I have so many questions and I have no answers. I have so many questions and I have no answers. And I feel like where we are right now, what do you even say? What do you even say when things are like this? What do you even say? Because now we're hearing things that we're not, I mean, if they had gotten 30%, that would be understandable. They didn't get 30%. Now she's saying that they're gonna, no. Where we are. Let me finish the interview because I need to finish the interview.
Say here, well, I'm giving you 3. It doesn't work that doesn't work that way.
All right, so it has to constitute about 30%, which is what you are holding in the government of national unity. In numbers, just help our viewers understand, just to be practical in numbers, how many ministries are we talking here based on how cabinet, how the executive is constituted at the moment?
Well, we don't know how big the cabinet is going to be. We want to reduce the size of the cabinet. So, of course, when you talk about how many seats we're going to get in the cabinet, it depends on how big this cabinet is. But however big the cabinet is, we should get about 30%.
So when you say you want to reduce the cabinet, what's your suggestion or recommendation to the president? What do you want to reduce it to?
Well, we haven't had discussions on that particular issue within the Democratic Alliance, but we think the current cabinet is too big.
Okay, so, all right. So that's one of the recommendations I suppose you're going to make to the president as he consults you as a member of the GNU.
Correct.
Okay. Have you as the Democratic Alliance spoken about which ministries you think you can best serve in? I know you've already indicated that it makes sense for John Steenhuisen, for instance, to be the minister in the presidency. What else are you thinking about?
Well, you see, Clement, if I go and say so now, I'm not the leader of the DA, as you know, and our leader, John Steenhuisen, has to have discussions with the president. And it would be very wrong for me to to undercut him in that conversation. He has to have a free hand, and I don't want to give advance notice or anything like that. It would probably undermine John's ability to have the critical.
Guys, we're gonna end it there. We're gonna end it there because it's very tough. It's very tough. I want to know from you, how did you find it? How are you finding this? What are your thoughts? Please make sure that you share this video with at least 10 people because we want the country to know what's going on so that when we get to the next elections, 2026, 2029, you know what you're voting for. You understand what you're getting involved in because it needs to be very clear. Now, I want us to move over to straight after Helen Zille did this interview. Then we had the PA come out and say that what Helen Zille said is not true. So here we have it. The Patriotic Alliance has issued a statement rejecting the recent comments made by Helen Zille, the chairperson of the Democratic Alliance Federal Executive, during an interview on SABC News program Face the Nation. Now, they say that the PA is part of the GNU. Helen Zille is saying, no, they're not. I didn't agree on it. And whatever the DA does not agree on, you can't do. And the PA is now releasing a statement saying that they reject Helen Zille's mad bat bully tactics. I mean, the wording is interesting. Patriotic Alliance rejects Helen Zille's mad bat bully tactics. Yesterday's utterances by the DA chairperson about the inclusion of the Patriotic Alliance in the government of national unity shows that she clearly believes she must have signed an agreement with the ANC. That means that the ANC must now do DA's bidding. She tends to complain. So they go quite long. It's a 2-page document. But really, the cracks are starting to show. What do we now believe? Is it Helen Zille's government of national unity? Should we be asking her, is she effectually the leader of the country? Is it the ANCs? Who brought this concept to who? As everybody understand what they're getting involved in? What is going on? And the problem with this is that it would seem that they are people that are lying to the nation. And this is what the MK party was saying, to say, don't lie to the nation. ANC, come out and say it with your chest that we partnered with the DA is leading us, and that's what's going on. That's what they're asking, to say, don't hide it with fancy English and get our people now trying to translate what GNU means and hoping that they won't understand it. And now you're bringing other people. Helen Zille saying you can't bring other people to the document you signed. So you're telling us that the leaders of the country are signing documents they don't understand. Surely they understand them. Surely this was their intent and their purpose from the beginning. So let them come out and say it. Let them tell us the truth of what is really going on. Because when political parties start to treat voters as children, voters need to wake up and see what is actually going on. And we're seeing so many people that are reacting. We saw Mpho coming out and he's saying, so the bottom line of the alleged national unity is white supervision and a racist veto. Number one, the 60% consensus barrier can't be met without the DA. Number two, this is a senior advocate, a lawyer. He's explaining the agreement now to us. Number two, Steenhuisen must go to the union buildings. Number three, the 11-seater Kumbi of PAC and Good Party can't get work until DA gives a pass. That's what the senior advocate Mpho was saying. Now, I want us to look at this because I don't just want us to be those people that come and commentate on what's going on without actually reading. So it's important. And this is what Clause 24 says that Helen Zille was talking about. It says, and I'll read very fast, in keeping with the spirit of an inclusive GNU, it is agreed that the composition shall be discussed and agreed amongst the existing parties whenever new parties desire to be part of the GNU. So if you understand, Helen Zille is basically correct that this is what the ANC signed. That's what Clause 24 says. That's what she was talking about there. She also mentioned Clause 19, which says, sufficient consensus exists when, 19.1, all parties have the opportunity to express their views. 19.2, despite reasonable attempts to resolve disagreements and find common ground, there is no general consensus. 19.3, parties of the GNU representing 60% of national seats in the National Assembly agree. 19.4, any party that disagrees has been able to formally record their objections. Yeah, ne? Why is the ANC not coming out and saying it with their chest to say, we went to Helen Zille and she told us what to sign, and we signed what she told us what to sign? Because that's how it's looking to me. And I don't know, is it looking any different from you? That's how it's looking to me. Now, some people say I read very fast. The reason I do that is because my brain processes information very fast. So if I do read very fast, you are able on YouTube to set the settings so that you're able to play this video in a smaller pace so that you are able to hear what I'm talking about. Now, we've got coalitions that happened in KwaZulu-Natal. Coalition Nation Ntuli appoints IFP leaders to key portfolios, including the highly contentious caucus doctor. Now, what happened in KZN is that the premier who has been set has now indicated who his cabinet is going to be. And there's lots of people that are complaining to say that this is wrong. Things should not move this fast. There are still matters that need to be dealt with. The MK party is also saying a lot of things there. But you can see the different people here. We also see the ANC MPL, Usboniso. He's there. We're seeing the different parties here and the different portfolios that they are going or they are going to be representing. It's really a different place. And one of the things that are interesting, and I think I've got so much to share with you, but I also don't want to keep you here for too long. But one of the things that are interesting is that the DA has two portfolios, one being public works and infrastructure. That's basically where tenders to build roads, to build things come from, and the other one being treasury. Now, the DA did not do so well in KwaZulu-Natal, but yet they seem to be holding these two big portfolios. And a lot of people are commenting and talking about the composition of that specific thing. And I saw this on Twitter that Koli said. She says, I hope the construction mafia in KZN is dusting up their CVs because the new public Works MEC, and I saw a clip of the new Public Works MEC and what he's going to be saying. And when you see this clip, you understand what she means by that tweet, because let's have a look at the incoming MEC.
Well, if there's any corrupt entrepreneurs out there, they must not save my number on their phones. They can't call me. I won't take their calls. There is proper structures in place how to deal with tenders. We have to go to that, what the rules say, and stick very strictly to the rules. We must do what's in the best interest of the people of this province. We must use the money effectively, so we can't have all types of cream on top of the coffee that people can get.
Ati no more cream on top of the car.
Benefit all the people of the province, not select.
So I think that tweet is relevant. And the tweet is saying, I hope the construction mafia is ready, because a new MEC and people are busy laughing there, and people are busy saying all sorts of things around that tweet that she released there. Now, the thing that I'm noticing, because people are asking, when all of this is happening, what is MK doing? And I must commend MK. The focus there is quite special, because while all of this is happening, they say, and this is Ududu Zuma, she says, we are still on the ground. Let's go out and continue to vote for MK in the by-elections in South Coast tomorrow, 19 June. So tomorrow, there's a lot of by-elections in KwaZulu-Natal, and the MK is canvassing. The MK is not attending anything. The MK is canvassing. The MK is, and I must say this to say, if political parties are not careful, when they get to 2026, the MK will be running all municipalities in South Africa, because it seems that their focus on getting on the ground is seeming to pick up momentum in different areas. And you see in the different wards that they're participating, and we'll have a look at their elections and what happened there. But they seem to be focused to say they want to continue doing what is important and not specifically just focusing on things that they were essentially not included in. Now, one of the things that I saw that also disturbed me was a kidnapping of UDM's deputy president. There was a release where the president of UDM said that the deputy president was kidnapped, and the kidnappers demanded 10,000 rand ransom, and he has returned home safely. I am quite concerned when I see these things, because when we start doing things like kidnapping people and allowing these things to happen, we are truly ruining our own country. So these are things that we must stand against, and we must ensure that these sort of things stop and we don't see these things. Now, today has been a packed show. Now, there's a couple of things I want to ask you to do. There's a lot of people that are watching these shows and they're not subscribing. I said to the team, if the subscribers are not growing, I'm going to stop doing them. So I want to plead and ask with you to say, let us grow the subscriber base. Because when you subscribe, you say to me that, Mpho, you bring us value. I'm learning about politics. I'm engaging. I'm thinking. And you encourage us to keep going. It takes a lot for us to research and do this. So make sure that you subscribe. And the next thing, share this video with at least 10 people. Let them know so they understand what's going on in their country. They're able to understand how politics is working. But last and not least, I want you to also leave a comment, because when you leave a comment, it allows YouTube to know that this video is a video that many people are watching and are engaging on, and it allows YouTube to show it to more people. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to make sure I do another video where I'm going to keep you updated on everything going on politically. Always remember, South Africa is our country. We are building it together. We are teaching, we are learning, and we are growing together in understanding how does politics works, how should you vote, what's important, and we are taking our democracy into our own hands. So thank you so much for tuning in, and see